Hello there. Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 7 books, host of 2 PBS specials. Here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically, how to use my life from the top of the mind system to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity to everything you do. Today I want to focus on that concept of clarity. The title of today's video post is called Understanding the Power of Why. Why do people say things that don't make sense? Why do they do things that don't make sense? Why do we find ourselves feeling angry, frustrated, stressed, annoyed, depressed in situations where we know it doesn't make any sense? Or why do we find ourselves feeling that way in situations that do make sense? What is going on? And maybe most importantly, how can we influence this process of how we feel, think, and respond? For those of you who follow my life from the top of the mind system, you know this has a lot to do with how the brain processes information. Basically, I look at 3 parts to the brain. Lower part of the brain is called the brainstem. It's where our fight or flight responses are located. Middle brain is called the limbic system. That's actually the scanner, processor, router part of the brain. Upper 80% of the brain is the neocortex, I call the top of the mind. This is where we have access to our clarity, confidence, creativity, compassion, etc. So here's what happens. Data comes in from our 5 senses and it is first scanned by the limbic system. If the limbic system doesn't see a problem, sends data on up to the neocortex, brainstem works in the background, everything's fine. But if the limbic system senses anything or anyone it doesn't like, anything or anyone it has determined to be a problem or a trigger or a stressor or a threat of any kind, or anything or anyone that is similar to any problem, trigger, stress, or threat we've ever experienced in the past, it sends the data immediately down to the brainstem, bypassing the neocortex. Now, this is exactly what we want to happen in a fight or flight situation, because sometimes we need to react to a situation without thinking. But when we find ourselves reacting to most situations in life, which frankly aren't really fight or flight in nature, without thinking, it means we do things that don't make sense. We feel things that don't make sense. Other people say things, do things that just don't make sense because this part of the brain, this lower 20% of the brain, doesn't make sense. It just reacts. It doesn't have time to make sense, to bring rational thinking to what we're talking about, what we're experiencing. Now, that doesn't mean that we should just go around always being rational and in that upper 80% of the brain in terms of no emotion. This is where joy comes from. This is where our purposeful emotions come from. Joy, happiness, enthusiasm, passion. What we would recommend to someone we love. You know, there are 4 questions I encourage people to ask themselves when they find themselves feeling or thinking something and they want to be able to evaluate it from the top of the mind and have it make sense or be able to have more influence over it. Am I doing this on purpose? Am I feeling this on purpose? Am I acting this way on purpose? Have I chosen to be this way? Is it working for me? Is it helping me create the life I want? Is this a statement I want to make about who I am? Given that every thought, emotion, and action defines who we are, am I defining who I am in a way that I want? And number 4, would I recommend, teach this reaction, this thought, this behavior, this emotion to someone I love? Those are what I call the 4 neocortex criteria, the 4 criteria, because they have this upper 80% of the brain evaluating and making sense out of what's going on. So if we can understand that the reason we'll feel depressed or anxious or afraid or frustrated in situations that really aren't fight or flight in nature, it's because this limbic system is interpreting them as dangerous. I call it the fake news part of the brain because it's giving us fake information about what's going on out there, and we're attributing how we think and feel to those situations. It's understandable, but unfortunately, if we can't change those situations, and yet we're saying those are the cause of how we feel, we're trapping ourselves in that lower 20% of the brain. We feel powerless. We aren't able to influence our experience of life and the lives of those we care for in a way that we would recommend to someone we love. So what I do is I go around the world teaching people how to reprogram, retrain this scanner, processor, router part of the brain, the limbic system, so that it interprets data, especially challenging data, negative data, in such a way that it sends it up to the neocortex so we have access to our clarity, confidence, creativity, compassion, problem-solving skills, interpersonal skills, where we become more powerful, more influential in our lives and the lives of others. If you would like me to help your organization do that, all you got to do is go to my website, BillCrawfordPh.com, hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in. Just Google Bill Crawford, Ph.D. I'll come up on the first page. If you want to work with me as a psychologist, life coach, whatever you want to call me, do the same thing. Go to the website, hit that contact button, let me know what you're interested in, because what I help people do is understand the why, and then become more influential in how we can then direct our thoughts, emotions, behaviors in a way that is more purposeful, in a way that's more effective, in a way that makes the statement we want to make about who we are, and in a way we would teach and recommend to those we love. That's why I love to start with clarity, because unless we have this clarity about why this is happening and what we can do to influence it, we really can't access our confidence, our creativity, our compassion. So, here's to you, bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity to everything you do, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.